if you were the prosecutor, which one of those three hurdles would you see to be the highest?
Well, I think this is obviously a case of great consequence and a case that's never happened before. So it's novel in and of itself. I think if I'm guessing about the president's strategy, and it's only a guess, and he'll have excellent lawyers, is that they will take a run at the law first, perhaps on the question of whether or not the misdemeanors can be elevated. That's probably more a question of law than a question of fact, and we'll take a run there first. It would not surprise me if the attorneys representing the former president tried to move into federal court on some ancillary action, as they did with us, and to have that action somehow be reviewed, try to be reviewed on the federal side, and have some impact, therefore, on whether the state court could go forward. For example, asking for a stay because there's going to be an election in a year and a half. In this case, the state case shouldn't go forward. So those are avenues that I think that you'll see. Of course, Cohen will be attacked heavily, but the flip side of that, of course, is Cohen worked for Mr. Trump, and they obviously had a working relationship. So we often find in criminal cases that the witnesses who are involved aren't necessarily, they're not priests or nuns. Of course, they are who they are in whatever organization they have.
Final question is this: what's the likelihood?
But I would add something else, Chuck.
No, go ahead.
Well, I've got to say that I was disturbed to hear the former president speak in the way he spoke about the District Attorney Bragg and even the trial court in the past week. And I think if I were his lawyer, and believe me, no one is called up to ask for my advice, I would be mindful of not committing some other criminal offense like obstruction of governmental administration, which is interfering with or by threat or otherwise the operation of government. And I think that could take what perhaps we think is not the strongest case. When you add a count like that, put it in front of a jury, it can change the jury's mind about the severity of the case that they're looking at.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.